Hey guys, Billy Epperhart here, and I appreciate you watching another vlog. And today I want to talk about disappointment and really the steps to overcome disappointment in your life. You know, as a leader, and we're talking about leadership, there are times, many times, when people will disappoint you, circumstances will disappoint you, and in some cases, don't have a chance to talk about that in its entirety today, but I want to say this, that sometimes people even carry and live with a spirit of disappointment on their life. So one of the things on overcoming disappointment is, number one, you have to learn to recognize it. Sometimes even myself, as I look back in my life, I've actually carried disappointment on me. I knew I didn't feel good. I knew I might be frustrated about something, upset about something, didn't like something. But what I didn't realize is the reason for that, or the cause of me having those emotions or feelings, was because I was actually disappointed either in something that someone had done to me or some kind of circumstance that had happened. So it's just important that you recognize that you have felt disappointed about something. And really the word disappointment means disappointment. It means actually missing an appointment with your hopes and your dreams. It means you hoped something would turn out a certain way, that it didn't turn out the way you said. So really learning to recognize disappointment for what it is, then you can deal with it. And then the second thing is really know that it's common. Many leaders deal with disappointment on a regular basis. Now, I believe you can protect your heart against disappointment once you start learning to recognize it, and something comes in to you that try to make you want to be disappointed. You can recognize that for what it is and then not allow it to disappoint you. But realize that everybody deals with it. Everybody has things that happen to them they're not happy about, they're not sure about, and so realize that it is common. And then number three is, when disappointment does try to come or attach itself to you, don't panic. In other words, don't overreact or over-respond to it. Take some measured time to think and pray about what's happening in your life, and don't allow disappointment to literally get you off track or cause you to get in the ditch. Then number four, don't dwell on the what ifs. So in other words, many times people will dwell on, boy, if it had happened this way, or something had turned out that way. And I know that many times in my life I have been disappointed. You know, one time I lost a lot of money in the stock market, 7 figures. It happened, and it was cash, not just paper, because I sold. And so it actually happened within 30 minutes. And then that particular security that I was invested in 30 minutes later shot back up to the price I had originally purchased it at, and then went above that. And boy, I double questioned myself. Now I will tell you that I learned a lot out of that. I don't do that anymore. Number one, I don't invest in those kind of things that move quite that fast. And I wasn't day trading, by the way, so just so those of you who are watching. It was actually a longer hold on something I was watching, and the truth was I should have just not been watching it, but I did, and I panicked. And so I became disappointed about my own actions. So don't dwell on what ifs. In other words, you can say, well, what if I didn't? Learn from it. Instead of dwelling on the what ifs, learn from what has actually happened. You know, Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19, when he became, if you remember, disappointed, he was fleeing from Jezebel. And if you remember, during that time, he had just a chapter or two early had faced down the prophets of Baal on the mountain. And if you remember that, and then here he is just a chapter or two later, one chapter later in chapter 19 of 1 Kings, and he's running from Jezebel. I call it one well-made-up woman. He's running from her and asking God to take his life, in just 4 verses down in that chapter. What's amazing about that is he had slain 850 prophets, 450 prophets of Baal and another 400 prophets of Ashereth. And yet here he is, there's one woman, and he's running from her. He could have just called fire down on her. But for some reason, the reason I believe that is because he was actually carrying a spirit of disappointment on his life. And the reason of that, I don't have time to share that in today's vlog, but if you go back and read chapter 17, you can, of 1 Kings chapter 17, chapter 18, and chapter 19, I believe you'll see that he was dwelling on some what ifs. And so don't dwell on the what ifs. And then number 5, assume a blessing is being disguised as a problem. In other words, what I mean by that is that sometimes it's really a problem disguised as a blessing, is what it should say. You should assume a problem is being disguised. In other words, it looks bad and it looks troublesome, but out of that adversity, many times in our life becomes opportunity. Let me say it one more time. Out of adversity in our life comes opportunity. And the reason for that, so you know, is that many people will quit when the problem comes. Many people will stop instead of working to find the answer and the solution, which in many cases is much bigger. The solution that comes to your life is much bigger than the actual problem. In other words, you may solve the problem, but you're also solving many things that come after that problem by dealing with it correctly at that point in time. So listen, this is Billy Epphart. Listen, don't allow disappointment to defeat you or cause you to quit, but learn how to work through disappointment and take these steps to heart, and I believe it'll be a blessing to you. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you here again. Bye-bye.